We're completing chapter 5 on equations of linear functions, and we're talking about inverse functions. We've looked at ordered pairs and we've looked at graphs. Now we're going to algebraically learn how to find inverse functions. And there's 4 rules that we have to go by, or 4 steps, I should say. One, we have a function notation. Then we are going to, the first step is to replace f of x with y. Then we swap the x's and y's. Third step is to solve for y. And then the fourth and final step is to write it in inverse function notation. So let's go. First step, I'm going to replace f of x with y. So now I've got y equals 4x minus 12. Then I'm going to swap the x's and y's. And so now I'm going to have x equals 4y minus 12. And then we're going to solve this for y. So first step I'm going to do is I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And when I do, I'm going to have x plus 12 equals 4y. And so now I'm going to divide every term, both sides of the equation, by 4, or I could say I'm multiplying by 1/4. Remember, division, if I divide by a number, that is the same as multiplying by the inverse. And so let's do this. I got 1/4 x plus 12 equals 1/4 4y. And here on my right hand side, that's going to cancel just to 1. And I'm going to move this up here to the top. And so then I'm going to distribute the 1/4 to the x plus 12 on the left hand side. And so I've got 1/4 x plus 1/4 times 12 is 3. 4 will go into 12 3 times, equals y. And now I'm ready for the last step of writing this in inverse function notation. F negative 1 of x equals 1/4 x plus 3. And shazam, we've done it. There is our correct answer. Finding the inverse of this original function notation. Now let's slide over here to the next slide and we will solve one more. All of this does correspond to example 3 on page 265 in your textbook. All right, here we have another function equation. F of x equals 1/3 x plus 7. And again, let's go through our steps. Step 1, I'm going to replace f of x with y. And so now I've got 1/3 y equals 1/3 x plus 7. I'm going to swap the x's and y's. And so now I'm going to write this as x equals 1/3 y plus 7. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides and come over here and now I've got x minus 7 equals 1/3 y. And I'm going to multiply every term here by the reciprocal of the 1/3, which is the same as dividing by 1/3. But it's a lot easier to do it with the reciprocal. So now I've got 3 into x minus 7 equals 3 times 1/3 y. And here the 1/3 and the 3 are going to cancel, reduce to 1. So I've got 3x minus 21 equals y. And we're prepared now for the last step, which is writing it in inverse function notation. So we got f of negative 1 of x, the inverse, equals 3x minus 21. And shazam, there we go. We have found the inverse function of the function 1/3 x plus 7. It can't get much more thrilling than this, can it? It's like being on a roller coaster ride.